Check. Can you hear me? Okay. I think this is working now. All right. Let's wait till somebody gets on. Hey, Jeb.
Is it just you and me?
Right now it's just you and me, man.
All right.
I was just about to get offline, but
Oh man, no.
no, it's
Come on,
good.
we can make this work.
Cool.
Cool, man.
How are you?
Oh man, I'm all right. I'm struggling just sort of with my time management lately. I have a lot of stuff going on, peripherally, and took on another part-time gig. Music related, but it's taken up some more of my energy. So,
Gotcha. What kind of gig is it?
well, I've been put in charge of somebody's estate. Um,
Whoa.
he's a former producer of my band, and um, he's moved out of his old studio, and he wants me to sell all his gear. So I'm getting a cut, but finding the right buyers, and I've actually found that
Wow.
what I thought was going to be quick and easy
Uh-huh.
has turned into a little bit of an insurmountable mountain of responsibility. I have all this old vintage gear that's I could move and maybe get as is prices for them, but with just a little bit of repair, like they'd go for top dollar. So I'm trying to find the right technicians to work on these amps, to work on these old Farfisa organs. Lots of great stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's funny how vintage gear holds its value, or if not more. Sometimes you can get more than it originally sold for.
That's true sometimes. You're right. Yeah.
Have you tried eBay?
I have not ventured into eBay quite yet. The thing is, living in Brooklyn, like there are a lot of producers around here and gearheads like galore that I'm trying to keep it on the local scene as much as possible.
Gotcha.
I know eBay is always an option, but
well, what's a device you're looking to sell right now? What's a model?
I have a Fender Tremolux amp.
Tremolux?
Tremolux. Tremolux.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, from like the 50s.
This is a 1962 version, pre-owned, $2,750. Jeez.
Yeah, right. And the other thing is this the one that I have in my possession used to be owned by a famous guitarist, and I don't know if that's something that could help sell it, but
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, here's what I'm trying to do is I'm actually trying to get a little bit of I spoke to the guy who I'm selling for, and he's I'm trying to see if he can provide me with like a little bit of money up front, so that if I do need to shell out some money to repair or to transport things around, I have that at my disposal.
Right.
So
you willing to do that?
Yeah, and the great thing about, one of the reasons I took this gig too is this guy, he's he's an amazing producer. He's a Latin Grammy award-winning producer, and I've worked with him on occasion. I've done like session work for him. I've done vocal stuff, and I'm just trying to stay on his radar.
Yeah.
When he asked me to do it, I was kind of flattered that he considered me.
That's very cool.
So I'd like to kind of keep that relationship going.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, what's some of the stuff you're working on for the Access course? Are you doing stuff for that, or are you just doing your own thing?
The Access course? Did I? No, I didn't sign up for that.
Oh, I thought
yeah. I was in the Make Money in Music, for that year. Then I didn't sign up for the Access course.
Okay.
I have actually, thanks to this guy who I'm doing the gear selling for.
Uh-huh.
The record that he produced from a band introduced me to a licensing agency, which has represented my catalog for the past 12 years. So I already kind of have a relationship with an agency. So, and they're always very receptive to anything I send them.
That's great.
So I have that piece of the puzzle taken care of. It's a non-exclusive contract. It would be great to have relationships with other agencies along the line, but
yeah. What do you mind if I ask what licensing agency it is?
Sure. It's called Shelly Bay.
Shelly Bay.
Mm-hmm. 2 words, Shelly Bay.
Shelly Bay Music. Okay, cool. Nice. And are they actively pitching your work?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think 2006, 7, 8 was kind of, we had an album that we had released, and it was really high quality and really well mixed, and yeah, that got a lot of bites. We got a really good placement around that time. But since then, our own production has been lacking.
Okay.
So, thus, this is why this course has piqued my interest, and so on and so forth.
Cool. What areas do you think you're lacking in?
I think mostly it's in the ability to create like a radio ready recording. I'm pretty confident in my ability as a songwriter to create something that competes.
Yeah.
That I have a sound that's. But I think my challenges lately are more technical. Like,
okay.
I think the ability to produce myself.
Gotcha.
Which is why I'm also producing. It's funny. I think I can produce myself pretty well, but not from start to finish. And I can co-produce. I can create something. I created something in this really like chintzy DAW that I have, which with the help of a mixer and another producer, they were able to make it sound like, oh, this sounds like a real production now. But that was how much did that cost me? $700. I had to have that.
Yeah, that gets old real fast, paying that kind of money.
Yeah. So
well, okay. So let me ask you some questions, unless you have a specific question.
I'm actually open to your questions. I'd like to hear what you have to.
Okay.
What you're offering me.
Yeah. If producing was the equivalent of creating boats on the open water, okay, and there's some people that can create a cruise line, and then there's some people that can create a canoe. It's better to be able to create a canoe that legitimately floats and looks good and is a pro canoe than try to create a cruise line and fall significantly short.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I, the more I've gotten into this, the more I kind of think that I think of producing as sort of like kind of layers. So the first layer is just capturing sounds for the song. So that means your piano part, your drums, whatever you need to get just the bare minimum of what the song needs to support it to make it a song. And then the next layer is embellishing. Mm-hmm. So things like solos, things like swells and cool riffs and things like that. And then you've got a layer of production tricks. Production tricks can be like reverse reverb or a sidechain compression or a cool stop. Things you couldn't do live have to be done in a studio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that last layer is more of the final mix, kind of putting it all together, putting the shell around the canoe. So I'm a big advocate of start really simple. On your next song, excuse me, just had a bunch of watermelon. I don't know why I had watermelon in the morning, but I did.
It's Arizona. It's morning feels like afternoon. Right?
It does, yeah. Although I haven't even gone outside yet. So, like, if you had, like, using that illustration of a cruise line or a ship, a battleship or a cruise liner, those are very complicated. That's like a city on a boat, where you've got to have a kitchen and galley and barracks and showers and all kinds of stuff. On a canoe or a little sailboat, you don't have a bathroom on the sailboat. You've got a hole. You've got maybe a sail. Mm-hmm. You've got a couple, knots and ropes and stuff, and it's basic, but it still can travel around the water. Okay. And when someone comes across that, if it's a really nice sailboat, it'll still command attention. It doesn't have to be a cruise line. So going back to those different layers, if you put all these layers together and you looked at it together, that could be your completed song. If you're looking at something like, I don't know, listen to this Demi Lovato song. She's got, a song that they're using to record, and they've got instruments, and they've put those in, and then they've got all these embellished instruments, and then they've got production tricks on top of that, and then they got mixing. After a while, you've got a whole city worth of production. It really complicates it, and that's awesome if you can do it. If you can pull that off, that's awesome. But it takes years to get all those levels to do them well.
Yeah.
So I always advocate start with what are the basic instruments that you can put in to create the song, to hold the song up. Don't put any more than the basic. Just start with that. Mm-hmm. And then if you know a little production trick, cool. But if you don't worry about that layer at all. If you don't know how to do a solo on the guitar or a solo on your saxophone, don't put that in. So you don't have any embellishments, just basic song. And now it's got to sound really good. You got to put the whole HULL, being the shell to the sound. If you can't do those two pieces, those two layers, then it's not really worth doing any of those other layers. It doesn't matter how great the sax solo is if it's mixed poorly. You just can't get anybody's attention.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how awesome and how fresh those drum samples are. Nobody goes home humming the drum kick pattern. They go home humming the song, and being able to just have it. That's why some of the best songs. There's a lot of amazing songs that have just extremely basic production. And I'm not saying that we all have to stay in that space, because as an artist, you want to express yourself, you want to get some cool guitar parts in, you want to do things. But unless you know how to do that, record well and mix well, just those two parts, unless you can do that, don't bother doing all those other things. Does that make any sense?
That makes a lot of sense. In fact, I want to write something down before I forget it. The way you broke that down was great.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Your analogies are priceless. I mean, yeah, you're a great teacher because you're like Mr. Miyagi, but like a little bit more white and more alive.
Just a little bit. Okay, really white. Yeah, I think a lot in terms of paintings. Like when I'm producing a song, I think of it in a very visual way, and it really helps me. I love watching people paint. I think it's one of the most amazing things. Like I was watching a Bob Ross, one of these old Bob Ross painting videos yesterday.
Yeah.
I sat there and watched the entire thing.
It's incredible. Yeah.
What's that?
Bob Ross is incredible.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. He makes it look so easy. Yeah. And suddenly he takes this blank canvas, and then suddenly there's a world that he's created that you want to just step into. It's amazing. So, but if it were like painting, if producing were like painting, if you don't know how to draw flowers yet, don't draw flowers. If you don't know how to, draw the cabin in the woods, don't do that yet. But if you can paint a mountain and a cloud and you get really good at that, start with that and then finish it. And that is your painting for now. And then slowly work those other elements in. And I think so many instrumentalists that get into producing are trying to take their instrumentation, their things they've learned, tricks, a cool solo, a really cool chord progression, or a really weird sound they're able to capture on their instrument that's really neat, that may be very, very valid. But if you don't know how to put it in the boat and create a boat around it, that no one's going to ever listen to it. It won't command attention. And I want, everybody in this class, I want them to come out of this with a little bit closer to commanding more attention, so that when they present something, people are like, oh, that's just really well done. That's good.
All right. Craft a boat that can float, right?
Yeah. It's got to float.
Great.
And using that same analogy, it's got to actually look good too. Unfortunately, you may have an amazing song, but if it doesn't immediately draw someone's attention, what somebody compared songwriting one time to women. When you see a beautiful woman, it's probably sexist, but who cares? When you see a beautiful woman, the first thing you notice across the room is how she looks, how she holds herself. You haven't even had a chance to talk to her yet. You haven't gotten to know her. You haven't searched her soul out and found out what drives her. All you can see is just with your eyes, and that's the beginning of attraction. And then when you go talk to her, so that initial look compared to a song is how things sound right off the bat. It does not matter what it's about. It doesn't matter what the lyrics are. It doesn't matter what theme you're able to capture. It doesn't matter. None of that matters. It's all about how it sounds. The initial sound, that's what's going to grab people. And
quality.
Then,
yes.
What's that?
Quality of, yeah.
Yeah. So then when you start to get to hear the song and you start listening to it, then you're getting more into what are those lyrics about? And those are the things that keep you coming back to the song, because there's the depth to the song. The lyrics, maybe a cool metaphor in the song, or a really clever use of a I don't know, some kind of phrase or something like that that's, interweaved through the song, or maybe there's a counterpoint melody or a really great solo part that just really jives with you. But you didn't get a chance to hear any of that at first. So what is it that initially drew you? And to me, that's either something very original, like something when it comes on the radio and I've never heard that sound before,
Mhm.
or it could, either the tonality of the voice or the instrumentation is so different and fresh, or it's a new use of a synthesizer I've never heard before. That, or another thing that draws me immediately is if it's just recorded dang well. If something
Yeah.
sounds just juicy to my ears,
Yeah.
that's another way to just grab me. It may be a piano and a voice, but it's recorded so beautifully well that I'm pulled into it. And now I want to get to know her, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good analogy when I heard it, and I didn't make that up, but I thought, yeah, that's interesting, because when we first meet somebody that we're attracted to, you don't get the chance to find out, their belief system.
Yeah.
You just,
Until she opens her mouth. Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. That's so true.
So all that being said, what do you think for your next song that you're producing you could do to amp up that? I don't know. I don't know what your challenges are and stuff, but what do you need to do to take it to the next level?
Man, that's if I knew the answer to that question. I mean, I guess I think what I need is consistency, and like I was telling you in a messenger, of just like sitting down and going through it step by step, and then and just trusting that, this is a process, and it's not gonna, for me, it's not gonna happen overnight, and I'm gonna have some um, some failed attempts,
Sure.
and so when I had a little bit of a demoitis. You familiar with that term?
Yeah. No.
Oh yeah. A couple days ago, I produced something. It was one of these typical things where I get home from work, and I stay up all night because I'm having so much fun, like creating this track, and then I listen to it the next day, and I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. I share it with some friends, and then the more I listen to it, I'm like, wait a second, I'm actually starting to develop a little bit more of an objectivity now, and like, this actually sounds a little like cheap, you know, and it's like what you're talking about. You just because I can create all these cool little riffs and ideas doesn't mean that I should.
Right.
Um, and
And it's so imperative to edit,
yeah,
It's great to put those in initially, but as you go into your process, I don't know how many times I've had to take out stuff that I thought was so cool, but I
yeah,
realized, this does nothing for the song. It's
mhm,
only distracts. And if it distracts, it's not helping you.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but I can see how I'm starting to see how um, a proper DAW and proper plugins and current plugins, are so important, because that's exactly what you're talking about. It's like, back to this analogy about seeing a woman. Like, if you'll see a woman wearing uh, last year's style
Mm,
versus a woman wearing this year's style, you're gonna notice the kind of the new one, and that makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Just current, like you said, it's better to be current than be good.
Yeah. I
You
hate
know,
that phrase, but there's so much truth in it.
yeah, there's so much truth in that. It's crazy. It's
It is.
crazy.
And I think it applies so especially true to producers, producers and mixers. Not so much in songwriting, because it's amazing how you could take a song that, I mean, there's songs that, like, I thought were throwaway songs back in the '90s that were like a Backstreet Boy song or
Yeah.
something. It's like, oh, that's a little bubblegum song, and they're coming back around and done in a new way. It's like, man, that's a cool, because it's done so well and the production is so good and the performance is so good that it almost doesn't matter that it's kind of a throwaway song. They just made it because it's fresh, it's new, it sounds good.
Case in point, I have this. I've started to work with a singer. She's in California, and she's been sending me demo after demo of just her singing her songs. She's got an amazing voice. She sounds like Karen Carpenter, which I
Mm.
like. But when I'm hearing her songs, I'm like, these songs are so, like, her aesthetic is so dated, and
Mm.
she has this vibrato. I'm like, well, maybe you could work, but her pitch is like spot on. There's something really warm about her voice. Her
Mm.
songs are a little bit cheesy, but I'm like, well, so I've experimented, and I took one of her vocals, and so I'm using Soundtrap, and Soundtrap, the processing is horrible. It's all online, but the sounds are actually really pretty modern, and I put all these loops around her voice and created this song. I'm like, holy shit, like, this could totally work.
Yeah.
It could totally work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah. The first time I heard, I think, Adele, I remember thinking, this just sounds like somebody from the '70s, like a ballad singer from the '70s. I was not into her voice, but then I heard a couple songs and realized, man, this is good again. Good is always good. It just, sometimes we have to kind of put a new shell around it, and you re-listen to it again, and suddenly, yeah, that's cool, man. That sounds like she's a fun person to work with.
I'm very lucky that she wants, and in some ways, like, I'm thinking, wait, am I her producer now? In some ways, I am, like, because she can't. I mean, for her, I'm the next level.
Right.
She can't do it,
Yeah.
and I'm willing to do it as like a collaborative effort, and
That's
so I get to practice what you're teaching with her, and it's
yeah.
great.
Yeah. You just got Ableton, didn't you?
So I think what I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to go with Logic.
Okay.
I'm
You won't hurt my feelings.
no, I just no, it's not about that, Zion. It's just I'm thinking about learning curve right now. But tell me, can you sell me on either of those? I know you could use Ableton, and I know we've. I don't want to beat this to death. Eventually, I have to just sort of like go with one. But
Yeah. I think Ableton is a more creative platform. And from an audio standpoint, I think both of them, their A to D conversion in their software is phenomenal on both of them. Ableton, you can get into the intro version for $99, but for your level, you'd really need the standard version, which is about $500. Logic is only like $200, and it's supported by Apple. And Logic's plugins, their stock plugins, like their instruments and their pianos and stuff you just get with it, are
yeah,
phenomenal. They have some of the best, reverbs and things like that just come stock with it. So probably, I mean, I love Ableton because of the creativity part of it, but honestly, Logic would be my second choice. And if I were in your position, and if money was an object, if money was a factor in this, then I'd go with Logic. I think you get more for your buck.
well, if it's a $300 difference, like you say, in the DAW. I'm deferring payment on this because I'm getting it on a credit card, and I won't have to pay for a year. So my goal would be to somehow figure out a way, hopefully with some sort of sync placement, to pay it off.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you a question. How many more months or weeks do I have on your program? Because this was a 6-month thing, right?
No, it's as long as you want to go. There's no contract. There's no, you got in at what price?
49 or something, or?
Okay. Yeah. There's no, initially when I first created the coupons for people that were students of Kathy's, I accidentally made a 6-month term on it.
That's what I saw, right?
Yeah. So if it goes up, let me know and I can fix it and keep it at the same level.
Oh, okay.
Because the coupon I had created, it totally didn't mean to do this, but it had a 6-month term on it. So it was 6 months at one price and then it moved to a different price.
Right.
So if it's done that, let me know and I'll fix that. But
okay, so this is a month by month thing that you're planning on running for as long as you're running it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is kind of my side hustle that I do on the side my main focus is writing and producing, but this is my second job.
Okay.
And I love it because it ties right in with my first job,
Yeah.
Plus I just love meeting cool people like you and teaching and sharing what I know. And, so yeah, people that are coming in that are not part of Kathy's course, get a different price. So and it's a little more expensive.
Okay.
But anybody that comes in, whatever price you start at, you just stay at. You're grandfathered in at that price. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've been called grandfather a lot lately.
Have you really?
No. I feel like one.
That's hilarious.
Okay. Cool. So, now, I mean, I see. Obviously, I see the potential in. I'm like, well, if I go with Ableton, your lessons, although they're not specifically geared to Ableton,
it'll make more sense though because I'm showing everything in Ableton.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there is that advantage. There is a suite version also. So there's standard and then there's a suite.
Okay.
I don't recommend the suite. I have it, but I rarely ever use. I'll send you a link right now.
Okay.
And I rarely ever use those suite.
No, what is a suite? That's like the middle version?
No, the suite is the high version. It's the high tier. So the one I always say is just get this for Ableton. I always say the standard is completely adequate. I mean, it's awesome and not adequate. It's awesome. It's just, there's so many other things. The only thing I use from the suite is a tool called Sampler. And it's a way but I only do it for certain production tricks. And so, yeah, I wouldn't even worry about it. But this is the link here where you can compare the different additions to it.
Okay.
It comes with a ton of drums and synths and effects as well. A lot of them are really, really, really good.
Do you think how important is it in a production that the sound you choose is a sound that no one has used? Does that matter?
Well, you mean from a copyright standpoint?
No, I mean, I don't know, like just from like originality. I mean, I guess
I don't worry too much about that, and here's why. You're going to be, anytime you start producing songs more than just, one or two instruments, you're combining sounds that very few other people are doing that exact same formula. You've got these horns combined with that piano, combined with these drums, combined with this guitar, and it's going to sound a little different from anything anybody's heard anyway, because you're creating frequencies that have never been created with those blends. That being said, a lot of times if I'm doing a piano part and I've got a cool piano thing going on, I love looking for weird pianos, a little bit
Sure.
of tune or scratchiness, or,
Yeah.
I use Omnisphere a lot, and there's some pianos that they literally set a piano on fire and recorded things. So there's
Oh,
one called Piano Burning. I mean, just stupid stuff like that. So I like looking for stuff that's a little bit more, or you throw it through a saturation and distort it a little bit and grind it
sure.
up and dirty it and throw
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you're rarely ever just like taking the sample or the plugin and taking like the stock way they present it to you. You're always adding a little bit of flavor, right?
Almost always, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Almost always. And then I'm always looking at third-party plugins that have, you know, there's a new session horns that's come out, and applying that and putting that in. And so yeah, I don't get too caught up in that. I just look more for, I'm trying to go after, especially with sync music, I'm actually chasing certain sounds.
Yeah.
Um, Not specific sounds, but an overall sound. And that
Mhm.
overall sound is made up of specific sounds, like voices that sound kind of raw and raspy, and um, a lot of gritty drums that are kind of sound old and distorted and bangy, and then guitar parts that are kind of twangy. And I'm kind of listening constantly, saying, what are they doing that gives that sound, that overall? And I'm sort of chasing those sounds a little bit. Not so much where I'm just copying, but I'm chasing that vibe. And then I'm presenting my own song through that vibe, through that filter. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, it depends on your goal, but some artists, their number one goal is to make everything sound incredibly original and totally, totally original. And if that were the case, I wouldn't be doing it that way.
Oh, right, right. No, I'm not too concerned about that either. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
but yeah, I do believe there's an aesthetic that you become known for. I think, right? Like your like when you're when Catch the Moon music thinks of Zion and his music, they know what to expect in a way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And now I've varied a little outside of that, and
Uh,
I think that they know that. But I'm not so far outside that it's a completely different genre. It's still, I went from kind of more very, very folk, very simpleton kind of folk, to more of a pop sound.
mhm.
So now I just call my stuff pop folk. I don't know. But I love doing EDM. I love doing electronic stuff. I just don't do it under my artistry name. I do.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So do you do you submit those tracks under an alias?
It's usually a different artist. So if I do a track, if I'm collaborating with somebody and my track ends up becoming very, very electronic or very rock or something, and I go, this is just doesn't fit in my vibe, I ask whoever I'm doing it with, hey, could you release this under your artistry name?
Got it.
I'll
Got
help
it.
you pitch it. You
Yeah.
know, I it confuses my branding too much. Now you could do like Josh Doyle in our group. He has, if you go to his little label that he created, he has like 8 to 10, 12 artists under his label.
Mm.
But every one of his artists is actually him.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's just how. Yeah.
It's actually him and almost all of them are like a collaboration. So him with that girl, Rebecca, him with John, him with Stan, him with, so each one is sort of a voice. It's a different singer almost on each one, but
Yeah.
he's got a country artist. He's got a, pop. Now that's a lot, in my opinion, that's a lot of administrative work of trying to keep up with a Twitter account for each one of those. Cause you got to have a certain amount of, if you're going to brand something as a band or group, there's got to be some social networking out there so that, if you get, if you get picked up by somebody that wants to license your music, that you actually have a legitimate, I don't know, face to the
Yeah.
social.
Sure.
What am I trying to say? You have a
You're an active act, there's something,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I don't personally do that because I think it's a little too much work. I'd rather just have one artistry name, and it's okay. I mean, if this album is this way, but then the next album is a little more this way.
Yeah.
Next album's even further this way. Bands do that all the time, and
Sure.
they'll start off sounding very and then eventually they kind of sound like
Yeah.
So I think it's an evolution. I don't think anybody's gonna sue you for that or anything. But
Yeah.
so I want to talk real quick about your. You were talking about your schedule, like
Yeah.
coming time. What do you have? What is your schedule? What is your how are you attacking producing and songwriting as far as allotting time? Do you have a plan?
I so I created a little bit of a daily, like what my ideal daily routine would be.
Okay.
That is waking up um, and making the first couple hours of my day just about self-care, and then making sure I got that in the. I used to say I had to get that out of the way, and then I have a friend say, "No, you put that in the way. You don't get it out of the way. You put it in the way." Um, and then my then midday from after I have breakfast from 11 to 1, which would be my learning time, which is doing coursework.
Mm.
And then I take a break, and then from 1:30 to 3:30, it's all creative. So like that'll be my writing and like actually recording, and then that's usually my day because then I have a night job and I go, and that's it. So realistically, I think I could do an hour a day on the course. Now on the days that I don't work, sort of it's wide open. But
What kind of work do you do at night?
I'm a waiter
Oh, cool.
at a restaurant.
So let me ask you a question. What is the thing that you find the most challenging, that takes the most concentration? Out of you listed awesome things. So you spend some time learning, you spend some time producing, you spend some time.
Oh, are you saying out of the things I have to do in my daily routine?
Yeah.
It's funny that the thing that I find most challenging. Honestly, it's just sticking to the plan. I mean,
the reason I'm asking is because I find that for me, that takes the most concentration, that really I have to really think about and concentrate, is producing. Because producing is a lot of decisions and it just takes a lot of focus and thought. And so I have learned to do it at the very first thing I do in the day after my self-care. So I try to do some meditation, I do some stretching, and I have sort of a routine I do in the morning.
Yeah.
And but after that, the first thing I like to get into is produce, because in the morning I think we're more focused in the morning. In the afternoons, we've been hit with so many things that after a while our brain kind of becomes an administrative brain. We're just kind of putting out fires and answering emails and da.
Yeah.
But I would strongly suggest just jump right into, as soon as you've taken care of yourself, jump into either your creating song, like either a writing process or a songwriting process or a producing process. That not learning, you'll learn later.
Okay.
Put learning till the afternoon, and you can try new things, experiment, those kinds of things. That's more of just sort of a playground to have fun. But the work that you need to be doing on a song, like for an artist or something a song you've written for yourself, That should be done right in the morning.
Okay.
You'll be amazed at how much better your stuff starts getting.
Are you saying so that would include recording, like producing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, doing a vocal take on something. Do that in the okay.
Anything that's getting a song forward. That's
Got it.
a song, not administrative stuff, but
Got it.
anything in the writing process, the recording process, or the producing process, or the mixing process. Any of those processes, that should be your and one of the things I do is, instead of you probably already do this, but instead of try to say, hey, I want to finish this song by Friday, or I want to finish writing this chorus by today, I want to finish that writing of the chorus. That kind of pressure to me is usually counterproductive. It doesn't usually help me. It usually hurts me, because I feel this pressure to get something done where I don't know where I'm going, and I don't like it. I resist it. So what I do is I just block out a time, and I just say, and in fact, I made did I send you I have a little mini course I created just on time blocking. And it's recent. I did it this summer. I'll send it to you if you're interested in it. It's just a couple videos where I talk about it. But that time block in the morning is just dedicated to just saying, I'm going to produce for 1 hour or 2 hours, preferably 2 hours, because when you get in the zone on something, you want to stay in the zone.
Yeah.
That's where you get the most work done. And it often takes 20 minutes just to get your brain into a zone. I was listening to a study, and they were talking about executives and CEOs in companies, and how when they're focused in on something, if they get interrupted, like their secretary comes in and says, hey, you've got a meeting today at da-da-da-da, or hey, can you answer this quick question, or that kind of thing?
Yeah.
After they've done whatever they need to do, it takes them about 20 minutes to get back into a zone of working on that thing that they're working on. And I think there's a lot of proof and evidence, and I know it's very true in my life, that once I'm in that zone, I can't be distracted. I can't be, because it's very hard to get back into it.
Yeah.
And that zone is that, I don't even know how to define it, but you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're just cranking away. It's both fun and
blinders. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you get huge amounts of work done, and it's synchronistic. No, it's not the anyway, it sort of snowballs on itself, and suddenly you're getting more done, and you're more inspired, and then from that inspiration you get more done, and then from that more done you get more inspired, and it's just like, and it's almost like you have to protect that time, that zone. So that's why I do it in the morning, because I don't have all the distractions. If I try to do that in the afternoon after lunch, I mean, I work all day, but if I'm doing that in the afternoon, I'm not nearly as productive. Just isn't.
It's interesting, because it's almost like it's really consistent with self-care. It's like, the first thing you're doing in the morning is taking care of your physical and spiritual needs. It makes sense that the next step is to then take care of your musical needs, and that's that sounds cool. I'm gonna switch things around to make that, and I think also that's kind of a great way to it sets the stage for like having a really confident feeling like the rest of your day, right? Because you're like, oh, I did that this morning, and now like I can conquer the world. I have.
Yep. And it's often the hardest thing on our plate. I mean, for me to go, hey, I need to, like, one of the things I did today is I researched ad music. I try to do that on Tuesdays. So to do that, I have a little process I go through, and I go, and I research ad music. Well, it's not hard. It's easy and it's fun. It's like, oh, I just click here, click there, and listen. Oh, that's cool. And put that in the playlist, and it's a little process. And it's cool. I don't need hardcore focus and attention for that. But when I'm producing a song, I want my entire attention to be on that. I want to give it everything I have, to give it, and be prepared for it not to be great. It's okay to be, it doesn't have to be perfect or good. It can just be practice. So I move those things off usually into the afternoon. Researching Spotify playlists, reaching out to Spotifyers, reaching out to music blogs, administrating my songs, taking care of this class and the needs of the class, answering questions, comments. I always prepare a video for like a quick tip. I'm doing that now every week. I've got to create a video for that. Those types of things I can do in the afternoon, and I enjoy them. But they don't require huge amounts of hardcore concentration. It's producing and writing that I think is still, I mean, as much as I love it, and I've been doing it for a long time, it's still the hardest thing. Hard.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, I hope that helps a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Kidding me? It's just having a one-on-one with you for an hour. It's like a huge blessing, man.
Man, it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see what comes out of this, and that I want to hear some of the stuff that you and this girl are working on. I hope you share it with our class.
All right. In fact, I'll go ahead and just post it right now. I'll post it right now. All right.
We love that, man.
Sweet, Zion. Thank you so much for the information. And do send me that link to the course you talked about blocking as well.
Yeah, I'll do that right now.
Okay.
All right.
And then how do I pull? Do I just copy and paste these links from chat into a browser? I guess that's the way to do it, right? If we're closing this meeting,
right. It will kill this. I only sent you one link. I can send it to you on Facebook if that helps.
Yeah, well, that'll be helpful.
Yeah, you bet. All right, man.
All right, dude.
Catch you later.
Thanks so much, Zion.
Yeah, you bet.
Peace.
See you, buddy.